welcome to the Codes of Harmony channel. Just bringing through some more downloads, general messages for the collective. And this morning I woke up with kind of, when you're in the middle of you're still in astral space, and I saw this gigantic kind of shiny, sparkling pentacle as in the tarot deck of pentacles. And the very loud, clear message that I received is that it's important for people to remember pentacles is only one of the elements that brings you happiness. So then I started seeing, they just started flickering through all of the pentacle cards. And the one which I have seen when I do readings with people affects people the most, in a negative way that is, or, upsets people, concerns people the most, is the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles, if you've ever seen in a tarot deck, is usually depicted as somebody outside of a building. Often it's a church, some kind of institution, some kind of establishment that provides care for people, and often the pentacles, the Five Pentacles, are shown in the window, and the person / people are outside in the cold. So that card is about not having enough pentacles, about being left out in the cold, about scarcity, about not having enough, about having lost finances, about being concerned about finances. So this message that I received this morning is, I believe, talking about, is talking about that there's pentacles, swords, wands, and cups. And pentacles represents finances and everything earthly realms. Cups represents emotions and the heart space. I always think about it as the heart space. And love, of course. And then wands represent fire, fire signs and intuition, your belief in yourself, your kind of belly fire is how I like to describe it. Obviously that comes in line with creativity, and then swords, which is, your mental space, your cerebral space. So at the moment there seems to be a huge imbalance with people focusing on pentacles and being worried about pentacles, coins, earthly realms, without realizing that you need all four elements to make a balanced, harmonious life, and that all those things is what makes you happy. The more people ascend and the more as a collective we move into the new timeline, the more our understanding and value of earthly stability is changing. And a lot of people are finding that very scary. And then there's a whole lot of other people that are finding it very freeing and very liberating, for people to start understanding that wealth is not just about how much money you have, that wealth is also about the way that love can flow in and out of your life, the way that you can express yourself emotionally through your cups, the way that you can, your mental health, where your mental health sits, which is your swords. And of course that also comes into line with all of those things are part of what makes up the way we express ourselves to each other. So you express yourself via your words, which are a combination of your intellect, your cerebral space, your swords, your sharp swords. Wowza. That just made me think about that woman who sneezed really loudly. Just made me think so much about how people say bless you after someone sneezes, and that actually started with the plague all that time ago, and that it was basically saying bless you, I hope you don't die of the Black Plague. Yeah. Now I'm hearing that song, ring a rosy, a pocket full of posies, a tissue, we all fall down, which is a children's song and became a game, but originally was actually about the plague. What else? Frequencies. I had this really wild thing happen the other night where me and my partner were asleep in bed, and we'd had quite an intense day. I'd done a lot of energy work. We'd saged like 4 or 5 times because it was that kind of day. And after settling down and finally getting into like sinking into astral space, just starting to leave the kind of 3D reality, all of a sudden, and we turned off all the lights, so it was all dark, and just all of a sudden we heard the loudest noise of just glass smashing, like heaps and heaps of glass just smashing, and it's completely startled us. I was like absolutely shocked, and for a second I didn't know which realm I was in or which realm the sound was kind of in. And then went to go into the bathroom, and the bathroom door was kind of like pushed shut, and could hear this like crackling noise, like this really intense crackling sound of like glass slowly shattering, and was very scared because the door couldn't open, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then eventually pulled the door open, and the glass screen door of the shower cubicle had completely smashed, just spontaneously smashed open. We're like, what the hell? How is that possible? What is this? And then upon researching it, found out that it's actually a thing that happens, and that that there's been all of these reports around the world of people being absolutely terrified, particularly at nighttime. It seems to happen at nighttime the most, of these glass shower doors just completely spontaneously smashing by itself, like no one's in the room kind of thing. Obviously really scary if you were in the room. And it's just interesting, I'd never heard of that ever happening before, but it's apparently an issue, it's a problem. And then I started thinking about and kind of receiving codes about symbolically what that means to have a glass door, like a see-through doorway, essentially completely spontaneously shatter. And it just made me really think about the temporal nature, the temporary absolutely breaking down nature of material matter, and that our concept of what is real, what is solid, what we can touch, what we can hold, what we can rely upon, just how truly fraught that is, and how much. So if you feel drawn to, I highly recommend researching these different elements I'm talking about, researching cups, swords, pentacles, and wands, and what they mean in tarot. And understand that pentacles are not the most important of all of those elements to make you happy. You know, when somebody pulls a 9 of Pentacles, that's a really great sign, absolutely. But as a tarot reader, as an oracle, as a medium, as a sage, I know full well, and I've learned not only through my own existence, but through my work with clients, with people in need, just channeling, I know that you go through cycles, and you can have the 9 of Pentacles, you can have the 10 of Pentacles, and it can be gone. It can disappear. And so that idea of wealth, that idea of stability, that idea of ownership of land, property, businesses, all of that can change and will change. And for a lot of people, it is changing at the moment. So what happens when, if somebody has based their value and their worth off pentacles, what happens when those pentacles go? Those pentacles change. Or what happens when your entire worth has been centered around wealth, finances, which is linked to status and class? What happens when the world starts waking up and starts realizing that the real value and the real wealth is not in pentacles? Pentacles help you be more balanced. Pentacles, obviously, like one of my favorite tarot readers, Cindy, often describes it as, once you have the pentacles, it makes it easier to achieve the other things. It makes it easier to feed your wands and be creative, have more money to buy materials to play with. That could be a metaphor or not. And having more pentacles means that you do have more, you're probably going to be a little bit less stressed out because you're not worried about money as much, meaning that you have more time and capacity to focus on your cups, on your heart space, on the way that you express yourself to other people. So there's just a really big need now, like I'm hearing like you just need to let go of your pentacles, let go of your understanding of how pentacles made you important, your understanding of how pentacles created wealth and stability in this world. Your pentacles are what makes it easier to focus on these other elements. But pentacles are the only thing that are not essential to make those other elements function. Whereas if you have heaps of pentacles and you have no love in your life, you have no ability to express love and compassion, then those pentacles are not going to change or alter that, if that makes sense. And you can have all the pentacles in the world, you can have all the money in the world, and if you don't have a kind of central core, like I'm seeing it like a wand that runs down the middle of somebody, down the middle of your body, almost like your spine. Spine symbolizes often bravery. You know, somebody says you don't have a spine or you're spineless. That means you don't have that you have no backbone. That metaphorically is meant to mean that you have no bravery. And so I'm seeing the spine replaced by a giant wand, which represents self-belief. And if you don't have that core wand within you, then it doesn't matter how much money you inherit. It doesn't matter how much money you get in a payout. It doesn't matter how much money you build via a successful commercial business. If you don't have that core belief in yourself, and you don't have a belly fire that you attend to, that you nourish, that is kept going, then those pentacles could disappear in a month, in a year, in a day, just like that. And also those pentacles you will always feel a little bit uncomfortable about, because you will not believe that you deserve them. And that just creates this kind of ongoing looping cycle of chasing money to fill a void that cannot be filled by money. I acknowledge and pay respect to everybody who has lost money and work during the last 2 years, 2 or 3 years. And I acknowledge that no matter what status or financial place you were in prior to everything that's happened in the last 2 years, that the change of that brings fear, creates doubt. And I'm hearing tend to all of the elements, all 4 elements. All of them are what makes harmony. All of them is what balances a happy life. And if you can't take your pentacles with you. And that's an old saying, but it's a true one, that you cannot take your pentacles with you. And that, when you die, it's not your money that people miss. When you leave this realm, it is not your financial status that people think about. They remember the way that you made them feel. Having said that, the way that you share your status, the way that you share your wealth, the way that you share your knowledge, the way that you share your gifts, that is going to be remembered. That is going to make a difference. That is going to be what echoes in your family, in your friend group, in your workplace, if you were to leave this realm. Family is so important right now, but family is also really hard right now, because different people are ascending at different levels and different stages. And your family is probably not going to be ascending at the same level as you, in the same pattern or pace. And that how your family feels needed by you is very much connected to their concepts of pentacles, their concepts of heart space, of cups. If you can't express your love to somebody and you can't receive love, then no amount of money is going to change that. No amount of status is going to change that. Disconnection from body, disconnection from body. I'm hearing disconnection from body. A lot of people are finding numbness, that there is an emotional numbness that is taking hold of them. A lot of people are being put on prescriptions and medications without the necessary processes going through. That's something to be aware of. Always, obviously, aim to find a healthcare practitioner who you trust and believe in, who trusts and believes in you. But that numbness is also about being like it's a survival technique to stop feeling things and to switch off from what's going on around you. And I think that's okay at certain times, but now I'm hearing it's time for us all to start feeling our bodies again, for us to start coming back into our bodies, reconnecting again with the physical realm, with a new understanding of what's important, with a new understanding of cups, of wands. I know I'm repeating myself. And particularly swords. Don't let your swords cut up your other elements. Don't let your swords become so overactive and so sharp that they become harmful to your heart space, harmful to your wands. Wands you can also see as kind of like where your soul, your spirit sits, as obviously as well as in all of those spaces, but don't let anybody tell you who you are, especially if it's based on fucking pentacles. Don't let anybody use old versions of you to cast judgment on the new you. Don't let anybody make you question the work that you've done, the soul searching you've done, the research you've done, the self-discovery that you've done. Nobody can take that away from you. Nobody can buy it off you. Nobody can copyright it. It is what you are building in the core of you, and that core cannot be taken away by a loss of finances, status, houses, friends with status, friends with money, friends with houses. All of the ways that people are traditionally pigeonholed each other are completely irrelevant and completely changing. Even the people that are trying to pretend that that's not what's happening, they know that that is what is happening. Everything is completely changing. I often get this particular download and message about people living in cities, and that it's actually unnatural for us to live in cities. It's really not. It's not natural for us to live with this amount of people in one location with this amount of consciousness going on. So, you know, if you imagine it like a telephone wire, that there's the, you know, you can use one telephone pole to attach multiple wires to, but once you get to a certain point, it becomes dangerous, and those wires cannot help but touch each other, cross over each other, and affect each other, potentially in a very dangerous way, right? Yeah, so what you do, you start putting rubber and protective materials around the wires so that they don't, you know, spark and don't affect each other and don't get crossed wires. Crossed wires we can look at as a metaphor. So it's like, as people in cities, we put more and more, you know, rubber coating around ourselves to try and not be affected by the thousands of wires that are intersecting with us, the millions of dreams laid on top of each other, the hundreds of connections to place, memory, that are layered and layered on top of each other, the emotional, just the energetic, emotional strain, particularly for people that are empaths, particularly for people that are sensitive, of being in a place that has so many different people. The download that I get usually comes in with the saying, it takes a village to raise a baby, or a village to raise a child, which, if I'm not wrong, was originally an African saying. And just got distracted by someone's energy. Maybe not distracted, just doing energy work. Yeah, so basically we're all being asked to go back into village life in one way or the other. We're all being asked to consider local rather than global in terms of our actual footprints, our actual interactions with people, where we actually put our physical bodies, where we actually put our pentacles, where we actually invest and engage energetically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. Thinking about the scale of that, thinking about the amount of people that you live around, how many people you're competing with in all of those ways, how many people you're comparing yourself to. Do not compare yourself to anybody at this time unless it is people who you really, really trust and really believe are connected to your timeline, connected to your story, people who are meant to be with you through this time and beyond. Do not compare yourself based on pentacles, because the value of pentacles is changing every single day dramatically. Your abilities and your skills to live harmoniously in a village is what is required right now. So they're just some general downloads from Codes of Harmony. I hope these codes have been helpful and resonate, and I hope that anyone who didn't kind of know or think about the way that tarot can be looked at in this kind of way, I hope that's been beneficial. I know that as a sage and somebody who's received messages for my whole life since I was young, like my family just kind of say that even when I was a small child, I just knew things. And yeah, it just wasn't until I found tarot that when I found tarot, I found this kind of very clear tool that people could comfortably receive my messages through, and these archetypes and images that help people understand and process what I'm trying to convey, or the direct messages from spirit that I have for them. Because I'm just a spearhead, and I am nothing without the spear. Okay. Hopefully I am going to make myself sit down at a table and try and do some more traditional tarot reads, either for all the signs or for all the elements. Lots of love from Codes of Harmony.